I guess the question is it mom or is it dad? Is it who was the person that was the light that was like, okay, we can overcome these things? Because one of the I think the biggest mental illnesses or lies that we tell ourselves is that I cannot cope.
Yeah.
And you have this amazing coping mechanism. Like it's going to happen, and I think it's very impressive because I think a lot of us could learn. So that's what I'm asking is like, where'd the coping come from?
So in our whole house, we never we never saw bad stuff, right? As far as in our family, because it was always, you just don't talk about it for one thing. And if it did happen, it was always on the down low, far away from the kids. And so when I was 12 years old, well, stuff had happened to me before and I never shared it with anybody. Another story. But I would see my dad being the most hardworking person. And he's the smartest person that I know. He's the greatest entrepreneur. He can just do anything. He was so successful. And even when things would go bad, he would just go, okay, shift, move. Shift, move. And I learned that from him. And I also learned it from my grandparents on both of my parents' side. My grandma was a nurse. That's where I got my inspiration from to get into healthcare, I think. And my grandpa was just this brilliant entrepreneur as well. And all of my dad's brothers and all of his family were. And they were just very wealthy people. And they would shift, move, shift, move. And they had family to support. And then my mom's parents, my grandpa was a pharmacist and was one of the top salesmen in all the country for Park Davis, I think, or Johnson & Johnson. I can't remember which one. And then he worked at Weber State University as a pharmacist up there when he retired. And my grandma was always busy doing things, and no matter what life happened, and there was some major life that happened in their family, shift, move. And we got to see from outside when there was a life incident that wasn't really great. Well, at least I did because I was the oldest, where there was some bad stuff that happened and the negative effect of not dealing with it right. And I didn't want that to happen to myself, and I didn't want it to happen to others. And so what could I do differently to create a life for me that wasn't going to be like that? And so my family definitely is. My dad is more of the entrepreneur, more the ones that you just move and go, especially from being in an LDS family. They're the breadwinners. They're the ones that go. The moms stay at home with the kids and, take care of the family. And so I learned a lot of that from my dad. I didn't learn a lot of the other life lessons until I was older from all of my family, because it wasn't a thing that you just didn't know about when you were younger. But when I became a parent myself, and my daughter, Ariel, my oldest daughter, almost died. She was born 6 weeks early and was in ICU for 6 weeks. I learned that my family had other things going on with them. And so I got to see that, okay, they moved through all these life experiences and protected us, and we never knew about it. What strength they had, what fortitude, and what love they had for us to not have to put us through some of those things as children, so that we got to just be kids, sort of, And they had to deal with that on their own, and it inevitably caused my parents to divorce, and because they grew apart and things like that. And they're happily married now, and things are great in their life, but at the time, I didn't know that there was problems. And so as I got older, then I could look back and go, oh, there you go. Oh, that's why mom was doing this, or why mom was crying, or why this was happening, or why you had so much put on yourself, Jennifer. And that's why I have 3 kids instead of 20 million, is because I was already the parent and helped raise all my brothers and sisters of so many. But I think it's partly just genetic in our family, but also because we also had so many life experiences ourselves, we didn't have a choice but to rise. And I think that one thing I can say about the LDS Church and our family was that that core of family was very important, and so we relied on each other, and we relied on faith and prayer and unity, and the community and things like that were very, very beneficial to my family growing up, and that was a benefit. And then when we moved back to Texas, that was even more so, because there's not very many members of the LDS Church. And so your eyes can be open to a lot of different things, and so not be so sheltered. So that also makes you open up yourself to more learning and experiences, and bring, it just happens. And and for me, I was like, holy honk, here we go. Here comes the ride of self actualization and awareness. And it just kind of trickled down. I do have one brother that died from alcohol and drug abuse a few years ago that never recovered. He was homeless for many years. He lived with me many, many times. We had to send him to Samoa to try to get some help.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. We had to have him we had to commit him to drug and alcohol rehab. And some codependency things with some people in my family got him out earlier than he should have. And then he would just do the drugs and alcohol for coping. And then I even got him into Impact. And he lived with me during Impact, but I had to lovingly kick him out of my house because he wasn't following the ground rules, not only in my house, but also of the ground rules of trainings. And for himself, that I knew that I couldn't be codependent and enable him. And even though it killed me inside, I knew that that's what I got to do to protect my kids and myself and him.
Oh, sure.
So
it's tough. Loving an addict is difficult thing. So what I'm hearing you saying is it's not all rainbows and sunshine. It's a mindset. It's a choice that you're making over and over and over again. And I think that is amazing.